Hello, it is Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It is a Tuesday puzzle today, so it should once again be a fairly simple puzzle with a relatively approachable theme. It is really, really heating up here in the UK. It is projected to be quite possibly the hottest day in the recorded history of the United Kingdom today. That is not an exaggeration. So, yes, I'm going to, again, as I did yesterday, try and move through this at relative speed so that I don't need to sit in this sealed room any longer than is strictly necessary. So, this potentially slightly speedy edition of the Daily Solve has been brought to us by Kathleen Quinn, Skella Chicken, and, as always, the inestimable Hood Monster, the invaluable Timothy Mark, the inimitable Connor O'Neill, and I'm going to say ineffable, which is also kind of fun. Maybe that remains for a future Supreme Benefactor, but the infallible Cynthia Toms. Thank you so much to the 6 of them, benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign. And if you'd like to join their ranks as benefactors and get access to the Daily Solve Let's Check the Crosses mug, you can find that at patreon.com/dailysolve. And there, at any level of patronage, you can get access to the bonus videos that have gone up on the channel so far, as well as the new ones that go up each week. And thank you to everybody who's done so. I do really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting this channel, making that contribution directly, and help making this a sustainable part of my daily work. It means a lot to me, so thank you to everybody. And you can find that in a link in the description field underneath the video, where you can also find a link to the Daily Solve Discord chat server, where you can communicate with other members of this community on Discord. And what else? Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you've been enjoying these videos. Thank you to everybody who has done so. All right, let's move on to the puzzle. Let's waste no more time. This is a Tuesday puzzle, as stated, constructed by Andy Kravis, who has constructed almost 30 puzzles for the New York Times, and it was edited, as always, by Will Shorts. So let's start solving. Shrimp blank, seafood dish made with garlic butter. Is it shrimp scampi, which is one of those funny, sort of redundant phrases because scampi is from the Italian for shrimp? Let's see. Divans. That's a sofas. Article of furniture. And what did the blank do? What did the blank do when it was still hungry? Went back 4 seconds. Dad joke. Went back for what did the went back for? So the joke is that it went back for seconds. What did the clock do? What did the clock do when it was still hungry? Went back 4 seconds. Dad joke. All right, that's a new one on me. Does certainly sounds like a dad joke. Okay, many jukebox songs are oldies. Yeah, I suppose that's sort of definitionally kind of likely, in that a jukebox is a fixed. It's a fixed device that is installed, and it obviously can be updated with new records, but inertia being what it is, it's more likely to sit around with older songs. And I suppose they're common accoutrement in restaurants that are themed around, say, the 50s, I suppose. So it is more likely to have older songs. A smidgen of something could be a mite. Maybe you just say it's a little bit. Word before peeve or project. Pet peeve or pet project. Pet peeve being a kind of particularly common annoyance for a given person. And blank gate, marvel of Babylonian architecture. Oh, the Ishtar Gate. I've seen this in person. And pay for something expensive. Something the what? Foot the bills. Yes, of course, foot the bill. And this must be, I suspect very much this will be part of the theme. Foot the bill. Maybe phrases involving body parts or something like that. All right, 1/640th of a square mile is an acre. Okay, I didn't know that. Worshipful love is adoration. And here we have ska, the musical genre. Yes, precursor to rocksteady and reggae. That is indeed the sense in which it's being used. And Edward, who wrote Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? That is the question we're asking. And the thing I'm trying to pronounce unsuccessfully. Edward Albee, anyway, is the answer. Blank with his own petard, hoist with his own petard, from Hamlet, which has given us a phrase that has lived on in the language. I think usually slightly misquoted, included by me as hoisted by his own petard. I think is usually how I think of that, but the actual line is hoist with his own petard, which I'm sure is that way for metrical, rhythmic reasons. Knee part, for short, is the ACL, the anterior cruciate ligament. There we go. There's actually a rare example of something I remember from somebody correcting me, not correcting, but in this case informing me in a comment. Monomaniacal captain of fiction would be Ahab from Melville's novel Moby Dick. Ahab, famous peg-legged sea captain. And sets of points in geometry are loci or loci. And the family circus cartoonist is Bill Keane. I've seen this come up in the Crossword before. It's one of those things I have a sort of vague memory of. It's a newspaper comic. I think it might be still running. I'm not actually sure. Anyway, golfer's pocketful. Oh, pocketful of teas. I must have spelled Albee incorrectly. Sorry about that. Is it spelled this way, Edward Albee, maybe? Let's check some more crosses and see if we can figure that out. Common market initials. So this refers to the common market of the European Union, and sort of predecessor organization named to the European Union was the European Economic Community, the EEC. So it's kind of interesting that they don't have anything here that indicates former or old or previous or something, because the common market does still exist. It's just an institution of the European Union, the EU, rather than the EEC, as it was previously. It was the previous treaty organization. Anyway, confront unpleasant consequences. Face the facts. That does look like it's body part related, doesn't it? We have foot the bill, face the facts. And autumn is fall, the season of the year. Ivan the Terrible, for one, was a czar, a Russian leader, a czar. And one of three in to be or not to be. Oh, look at that. We have another little Shakespearean excerpt. What was our other one? Hoist with his own petard. Here we have three iambs. So an iamb, iamb, there we go. One of three, so there's only a single one of them, so I shouldn't have been trying to pluralize that. So an iamb is the metrical unit that consists of one unstressed syllable followed by one stressed syllable. So to be or not to be. I mean, you'd never want to read Shakespeare in that robotic sort of way, but just to really emphasize the stress. That's each one of those. To be is an iamb. So that's what that is. Hence iambic pentameter, when there are 5 iambs in a single line. Oh, maybe this isn't face the facts. Let me think. Some temperature extremes are highs. Well, that's certainly appropriate for today. I think the previous historical all-time high in the UK was in 2019, so not a huge gap until the new one, which is slightly disconcerting. Anyway, let me think. Something FM. It must be hum or something like that. Face the music. Face the music. That is the other possible phrase. And I suppose that's actually better than face the facts. Face the facts, I think, generally has an implication that the facts in question are unpleasant, because there are 2 ways, actually, in which face the music is a better match than face the facts. One is the word unpleasant. So face the music does have a consequence of it being very unfortunate. Whereas face the facts, I suppose, could have a neutral connotation, although it is, I would say, more of a negative than positive implication. And then the other, possibly more important one, is consequences. When you face the music, that's often said about somebody who's facing actual punishment or repercussions for their actions, where face the facts could just mean you've lost an argument or something. It doesn't necessarily mean there are real consequences. Anyway, let me think is and Kublai Khan, Yuan dynasty founder. I wouldn't have been able to tell you. What on earth was that? I wouldn't have been able to tell you which dynasty Kublai Khan founded, but with the help of the crosses, I think we're arriving at the answer. And they may be released while scuba diving, something but air bubbles. Sits on a sill as pie cools. A pie cools on a windowsill. Sometimes there are some old houses have pie cooling architectural elements built in. Little, you see this in, I think, probably the southern United States, maybe, southeast United States. There might be a little sort of what looks like a cupboard, and it's meant for cooling pies because it's intentionally has a draft from the outside in the cupboard. It has a little window that allows you to put the pie in a cooling location. Anyway, former Chinese premier. Okay, here's another thing. Sorry, I'm pausing because someone corrected me about this pronunciation. I think Zhou Enlai, I think, is better than what I used to say, which was something like Zhou Enlai or something. So anyway, the name of the former Chinese premier, former leader of China, and hopefully my pronunciation of that has slightly improved, although I'm sure it is not great. Still, Taiwanese computer brand is Acer. It's funny to cross a Chinese premier with a Taiwanese company. Anyway, Sky of Say Anything. Oh, I actually don't think I know who this person is, but I suppose I've seen Say Anything, so I guess I have seen this person on screen. Ione, but I don't know anything about them or how their name is pronounced, or Ione Sky. Anyway, word after spring or summer on a menu. Spring roll or a summer roll. And an archaeologist find is a relic. There we go, so that all works. An ingredient in a Reuben sandwich is what? Pastrami and sauerkraut, and I think people argue about what else goes in it, but either Thousand Island dressing or mustard, maybe. Anyway, how do you spell sauerkraut? There we go. No. There we go. Okay. Took me a few guesses, stabs until my brain said that looks right. Typeface akin to Helvetica is Arial. I think typography enthusiasts would take issue with that claim. And shade of gray, it's a perfectly fair clue. I wasn't trying to criticize it. A shade of gray could be ash gray. Letter after pi, rho, I suppose. And to take responsibility for a misdeed, to shoulder, there we go, shoulder the what? Blame, to shoulder the blame, of course. Yes, so we have one more body part, our foot, our face, and our shoulder. And these are all sort of dealing with accepting some sort of responsibility. In the case of the bill, the financial responsibility. In the case of facing the music, the, I don't know, sort of cosmic responsibility. I was going to say moral, but this might not be the result of doing something immoral. It might just be doing something that has poor consequences. And in the case of shouldering the blame, that would be moral responsibility. So this might be legal responsibility. We might have financial, legal, and moral responsibility so far. But we have more to come, I think. Donkey sound could be a bray. The donkey braying is the word we use to indicate donkey's sound. To wear the crown is to reign, such as a monarch might. To get more mileage out of something, reuse it or rerun it, reuse probably. Sounds of hesitations are ers. Didn't we already have a sound of hesitation somewhere? Wasn't there an Oh, there was, but it wasn't clued that way. It was clued as let me think, and then here sounds of hesitation. Oh, I see, it's because this one is plural and this one is singular, so they actually couldn't have used the same clue. The Addams family cousin it. And right, this came up in a crossword before, and someone told me which Addams family person this was. Is this the big hairy one? I think that might be the case. Boots from office, ousts from office. Another thing that's happened here in the UK recently, and upscale boarding kennel is a doggy spa or something. I wonder if I don't actually know that phrase, but I sort of just that seems like it might be the answer, or maybe a dog hotel. Dog hotel, doggy spa somehow sounds because it's sort of cutesier. It just kind of sounds more likely to me to be something upscale for wealthy people with dogs, but I don't know. Many Scott Joplin compositions are ragtime music. Scott Joplin, the famous American composer. Maple Leaf Rag, The Entertainer. You've certainly heard his music. Protection, aegis. You could be under someone's aegis, under their protection. Maybe that would prevent you from shouldering the blame, footing the bill, or facing the music. Angrily stops playing a game. In modern parlance, rage quits. Something I've yet to do on this series, and hopefully will remain that way. Bum around London would be an arse, I suppose. So in this case, around London is not being used because of anything that exists in London specifically, but just to indicate we're using British English in the answer, that's all. Shakespeare, e.g. the Bard. Oh, look at that. So we have Shakespeare, and we have Hoist with his own petard, and then we had an iamb in the clue as well. So we have a little sort of micro theme. I don't think it has any relevance to the main theme of the crossword. It's just a nice little bit of echoing that the constructor has snuck into the grid. All right, here this must be our last maybe theme. Well, this will either be our penultimate theme answer or it will be the final theme answer. Then we'll have a revealer. I don't know which. Bet on every competitor but one. Something the field? This wasn't Doggy Spa after all. It was a dog hotel. Look at that. Because something the field. What the field? What sort of body part? Why can't I think what this is? All I can think of is play the field, but I don't think that's right because I suspect this will be a theme answer with a body part. That is frustrating. Leaves in a hurry. Ends with an S. Little twerp. Forbidden sounding fragrance. Oh, taboo. Didn't this come up in the puzzle just yesterday or the day before? It was within the last 2 days, I'm fairly certain. Peru's capital, Lima, Peru. Iberian wine city. Not Porto. Or Madeira. It says Iberian. So is that going to be Spanish or Portuguese? I don't know. Leaves in a hurry. Bolts. There we go. Oh, back the field. Oh, back. Right. Okay, I wasn't thinking about that. Okay, so this breaks our pattern of having to accept responsibility for things, whether financial, legal, or moral, and in this case, none of those. I suppose facing the music isn't necessarily legal consequences, but that is what I've chosen to decide in my not theme-specific interpretation of these clues. Bee-like is apian, so an apiary is a bee, sanctuary? What would you call that? A sort of construction where people keep bees? A small musical group could be a combo, like a jazz combo, for instance. And a little twerp is a snot. There we go. Okay. Oporto. Oh, right. Okay. Is that the name of the city and I was just confusing it? I suppose that must have been the case. Look at this. We have quite a few echoes from earlier in the week. So football stat from, I think this was 2 days ago. Attempts. How many times the quarterback attempted to pass the football, I think is what it was. Someone just told me this. But I did remember its attempts at least. So there's that. Tennis Hall of Famer Gibson, I'm not sure. Performers in a tiny circus, a flea circus. Fleas in a tiny circus. And topic for debate is an issue, right? Have a meal is to eat, of course. Writer Stephen Vincent. Not sure offhand. What about this? Gridiron play callers for short. Oh, is it QBs, quarterbacks, who also make attempts. Quite a bit of echoing in this puzzle. That's nice. Nice little construction detail. What have we not seen? Aspiring JD's exam. So this is going to refer to a legal exam. So LSAT, the legal standardized achievement test, or whatever it is, for those attempting to attend law school. And conforms to expectations. Okay, so this will be another theme answer rather than a revealer that ties the theme together. I think the theme is fairly self-explanatory, so we don't really need a revealer, do we? Anyway, conforms to expectations is toes the line. Right, there we go. Maybe that's what you, maybe that's what's happened after you did all these other things and you've tested the patience of your masters or your, I was thinking this in sort of political party terms because towing the line is so often used in a political context. Perhaps you backed the field in a leadership contest and the eventual winner is exacting revenge for your, I don't know, perceived disloyalty. And so you shoulder the blame, you face the music, and you foot the bill. All right, gasoline or kerosene could be fuels. Musher's vehicles could be sleds. So, mush, you think of driving the dogs in dog sleds. Okay, still don't see that writer. That's a shame that I don't know. Big chip off the old block. Flint. Obviously not flint, doesn't fit. Okay, Althea maybe? That's a name. Althea Gibson, is that somebody? I'm sure it's embarrassing that I don't know, and I'll learn that tomorrow. Hammed it up on stage is emoted, and I forgot about this little area of the grid. Sorry, misplaced is to lose, and bear in Spanish is oso, and then an Old Testament twin is Esau. So those are all things that look right, and this does look like Althea, doesn't it? Nuclear trials for short. Here we have A tests. This could be N tests. There are a few different things this could be in the New York Times crossword, but so I suppose that makes this a potentially tricky cross. If you just have never seen the name Althea, I suppose you could think it's maybe Althen. That's, if you literally don't know any of these names, it's as likely a name as any. And nuclear trials. Anyway, in this case, it should be A tests. And then let's look at the remaining clues before we fill this in. So writer Stephen Vincent Bennett or Benet, and then Stephen Vincent Benet. Is that someone I know? And then one trained in CPR is an EMT, an emergency medical technician, and then, oh, right. Here we have a big chip off the old block is a flow, an ice flow. So an ice flow that breaks off of a larger iceberg, I suppose. Or doesn't have to be an iceberg. It could be off of a sheet of ice or a glacier or something. Okay, nuclear trials for short are A tests, and there we go. Did that not quite as quickly as I intended to. I ended up sort of digressing a bit about various clues and answers, so I probably could have had a faster time there, but that's okay. Managed to make through it without completely melting. So let's just review our theme, and then I'll move on to yesterday's clues. So we had our body part related forms of, in almost all cases, they did deal with accepting responsibility. Even toes the line does speak to a form of accepting responsibility. You are accepting the responsibility of a sort of collective action, basically. You're towing the line. Back the field, yeah, not really. It doesn't really have the same meaning. So that might not be, I don't think that's actually part of the theme. That's just something that happens to be the case for several of these phrases. But anyway, we had foot the bill, face the music, shoulder the blame, back the field, and toes the line. Oops. So it's fair enough that these don't all conform to that other property that I was describing, because it's difficult enough that they all use these body parts. Foot, face, shoulder, back, toes. Very clever. A fun roundup of idioms in the English language that use this format. And actually, it's sort of similar to yesterday's puzzle in that we had several English language idioms that followed the same grammatical format, grammatical construction. So just as these do, we have in each case, a verb that is a homophone of a noun that is a body part in particular, followed by the word the, followed by another noun. So yes, very specific and of similar length in each case because, let's see. Oh, right. So these two that which are symmetrically disposed to one another have the same length, and then these two, and then these. But in total, there are three different lengths. Anyway, that's that for today's crossword. Really enjoyed that one. I think I enjoyed this grid more than yesterday's probably. And another fun theme though. They were both good fun themes. Hope you enjoyed it. And now let's discuss a few clues from yesterday's puzzle. How about that? I don't think there were many, which makes sense given yesterday was just a Monday. Mike DeNovi says the trip meter is the button on your car's dashboard that lets you measure distance traveled between fill-ups, say. That I see. So that's a sort of, it's almost a subcomponent of the odometer because you have the odometer which tracks the total distance your car has traveled, and then I suppose you have the trip meter that shows a sort of localized measurement of your own determination. Stormstruck says, "Hi Chris, idiom explanation. At sixes and sevens comes from a dice game that was played in the late Middle Ages where rolling a 6 or 7 was sure to make you lose. It meant a careless risk for centuries, but has since evolved to an idiom referencing chaos." Thank you, Stormstruck. That makes sense. The etymology that I had previously heard of at sixes and sevens, which I will say I knew was incorrect because it is historically impossible, but the one I had heard before and is one of those, what did someone call this in a recent comment? A kind of, I don't know, some sort of portmanteau of myth and etymology or something like that. But anyway, I think I usually call these folk etymologies, which is when something that seems plausible enters into the public consciousness as an explanation for a word or phrase's origin, but actually isn't correct. They're usually too clever to be real. And in this case, at sixes and sevens is a thing I'd heard before. So in London, there are these, I think, 110 what are called livery companies, which are ancient guilds, essentially, of professions, things like the grocers and, I don't remember all, there's dozens and dozens of them, and of course now I can't think of any, but goldsmiths and, there are all sorts of things like leather workers. There's just all sorts of ancient professions, and many of these companies have existed for 500 years, 600 years, and I think some of them go back to the 13th century. Maybe a couple of them do. And although I think most of the charters that establish these companies are from roughly the 15th century. And anyway, they have an order of precedence in the City of London. These are City of London livery companies. And the order of precedence, I think, relates to how ancient each of them is. So deals with their year of founding, I think. There might be some other cases. But anyway, this part is true. The order of precedence of the 6th and 7th ranked companies, and I don't remember which ones those are. I probably should have looked this up beforehand, shouldn't I have? Anyway, since some point in the 15th century, it was it's a specific year that's known when this started. They every year change order of precedence between 6 and 7, and I don't know if it's known why that is the case exactly, but the folk etymology around the phrase at sixes and sevens, which means in a state of chaos or possibly two people being at odds with one another, is that it comes from this argument between these two livery companies, these two ancient professional guilds in the City of London. And so that's where we get the phrase at 6 and 7. And to this day, they still do actually switch back and forth between order of precedence of 6th or 7th. Every year at Easter, they switch back. They reverse their order of precedence. It's very strange. The only two companies on this list of 110 or whatever it is that do this. And anyway, that's not the source of the phrase, because the source of the phrase predates that the source of the phrase, or sorry, examples of that phrase in the English language that we know historically exist predate the decree that these companies do this annual switch, predate that by about 100 years or so. So a century before these companies started switching order, which I think was in the 1400s, we already had examples of the phrase at sixes and sevens or some version of it. So anyway, that's not the explanation, and that was an incredibly long digression that for some reason subjected myself to in the middle of this heat, despite Stormstruck already giving us the real explanation, which is that it comes from a dice game. All right, and we'll move. Oh, no, that's it. Oh, good. What a relief. So that's all I had from yesterday's puzzle. And that's that for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the puzzle. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I will be back tomorrow for the Wednesday puzzle, which might be a little bit of a step up in difficulty. Probably still a relatively straightforward theme, but you never know. Every once in a while, you get a Wednesday theme with a rebus, so maybe that'll happen this week. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Hope you'll join me. Until then, please do have an excellent remainder of your Tuesday. Take care.